The first time I saw her, I wasn't supposed to. The royal citadel of the Kilari, perched on the jagged cliffs of the planet Betrayal, was forbidden to humans. Even the sight of their spires from the airstrips was enough to make our security drones whirl into action. But I had a habit of wandering where I shouldn't. Some part of me, a reckless, foolish part, wanted to see what no human had ever seen, the alien queen herself. Her name was Viriliana, though we humans had only whispers of it. Entire fleets had attempted parley, ambassadors had been ignored, and spies had returned with only silence in their eyes. And yet, standing there atop a distant ridge, I saw her. She was nothing like the legends. The tales spoke of a figure draped in light, towering over her subjects like a deity. What I saw was terrifying and fragile all at once. She moved with the grace of an apex predator, but the moment her gaze met mine, I could tell something was wrong, an uncertainty, a tension that even her subjects didn't share. And then the alarm sounded. I should have fled. Every survival instinct screamed at me to drop to the ground and crawl back to the transport. But I froze. Because in that instant, Viriliana's elegant form faltered. She stumbled. And that stumble, so slight, so human in its imperfection, was enough to draw the attention of the Guard of Ember, the Queen's elite defenders. I ran, but not before I saw one of the guards raise a weapon and aim directly at her. "Wait," I shouted, my voice cracking in the thin, alien air. "Don't." It was insane. I was a human. A single human, no match for Kilari warriors. But something in me snapped. I didn't know if it was fear or heroism, or simply the ridiculous arrogance that humans call courage. Whatever it was, I charged. I barreled into the guard with every ounce of my body, sending him sprawling. His weapon discharged, a searing blue pulse, and it grazed my arm. Pain exploded, but I ignored it. I had one goal, reach her. "Go. Now," I yelled, grabbing Viriliana's hand. Her skin was unlike anything I'd imagined, cool, smooth, and yet vibrating faintly with some inner energy. Her eyes, large and luminous, widened in shock. I pulled her toward the ridge's edge, our backs to the abyss. Behind us, the guards surged, weapons sparking. Somehow, impossibly, we leapt over a narrow chasm in the cliffside. I landed first, rolling to absorb the impact, and instinctively yanked her down after me. She hit the ground, and I could hear the faint hiss of air escaping from her lungs. "Are you?" I began, but she stopped me. "No time," she said, her voice a strange melody of syllables I somehow understood. They want me dead. You've made a choice you cannot undo." "I don't care," I said, panting, blood running from my arm. "If you die, You could die too," she interrupted. Her gaze, sharp and unyielding, met mine. "Humans are fragile." I laughed, bitterly. "Yeah, well, so are aliens sometimes." And that was the first time I realized that Viriliana, the feared and untouchable alien queen, needed me. The flight through Betrayal, the world beyond the citadel, was treacherous. The cliffs dropped into jagged canyons filled with shifting, poisonous fogs. The only way out was the Skyborne Path, a network of ancient bridges left by the Kilari ancestors, now mostly abandoned and collapsing. She limped beside me, her strength impressive even in injury, while I carried what little weapons and supplies I had scavenged. Every time a patrol approached, I used the environment to our advantage, swinging logs, throwing rocks, and even triggering a cave-in once to block a pursuing squad. Each act of defiance against the Kilari seemed impossible, but somehow we survived. During one brief respite in the shelter of a crumbling arch, she finally spoke about herself. My empire is fracturing, Virilyana said, her voice low. The Council of Embers seeks to control me or kill me. They believe that humans are dangerous, that I am weak for showing mercy to your kind. I frowned. So, all this chaos, it's because of politics? No, she whispered. It is because I trusted. I trusted in the balance of power and in what I believed to be inevitable. You are different. You defy inevitabilities. I stared at her, realizing that this queen, the ruler of an entire species, was just a person. Fearful, desperate, trying to survive. And somehow, because of my reckless charge back at the Citadel, her life was in my hands. The irony wasn't lost on me. A human saving an alien queen from her own guards. It felt absurd, almost like one of those old Hollywoodies we watched in childhood, where the underdog always wins. But this wasn't a story. This was life. The desert of glass. We made it to the desolation expanse, a desert of shattered crystalline formations that glimmered like broken stars under Virelia's twin suns. The terrain was unstable, and every step could shatter the crystals beneath us, slicing our feet, or worse. It was there that the Council's assassins caught up. We were ambushed at dusk, a dozen warriors surrounding us. I realized then that my small, improvised blaster wasn't enough to hold them off. Not even close. Virilyana stepped forward, her wounds forgotten, and her presence seemed to bend the very air around us. The assassins faltered. They had trained to fear her, even if they were meant to kill her. You will not touch her, I shouted, standing in front of her. One of them lunged at me, and I felt the impact of a stun baton against my chest. Pain flared, and I went down, but my mind was singularly focused. Protect her. Survive. Protect her. Then something unexpected happened. Virilyana reached out with both hands. The ground trembled. The crystals rose, cutting through the air like giant shards of glass, and the assassins were flung back in a torrent of energy. I watched in awe as she took control of the terrain itself, bending her environment to defend us. But even she couldn't hold it forever. I saw exhaustion in her movements, the way her knees bent and hands shook. If I didn't act, we would both die. I charged forward, tackling one of the assassins to buy her a fraction of a second, and we fought together, human and queen, against impossible odds. When the last assassin fell, we collapsed together on the sand, gasping for air. Her hand found mine. You fought for me. I chuckled weakly, pain stabbing from every wound. Yeah, I didn't have much choice. You did, she said softly. And because of that, I live. The hidden refuge the next day, guided by her instincts, we reached a hidden valley, shrouded from sensors and satellite scans. It was untouched by the Kilari, a sanctuary she had discovered as a child. There, she could rest, heal, and plan her next move. I cleaned my wounds as best I could, but I was more interested in hers. She allowed me to tend to her injuries, trusting a human enough to let me near her. It was a strange, surreal experience. You could leave, she said finally, breaking the silence. You don't belong in my world. You risked everything for someone who should never have mattered to you. I shook my head. I didn't save you because you're a queen. I saved you because I couldn't stand watching you die. That's all. She looked at me with an intensity that made my heart pound. That is enough to make you my savior. The word lingered in the air, heavy with implications. I didn't fully understand it, but I knew one thing. There was no going back. Reclaiming the throne weeks passed as we planned. Virilyana's forces were fractured, but her will was not. With my help, she rallied loyalists, formed alliances with fringe clans, and slowly undermined the Council of Ember. I trained, fought, and strategized by her side. My human ingenuity, combined with her alien power, became a force even the Kilari had never imagined. We became an inseparable team, human and queen, working together not just to survive, but to reclaim her throne. The final confrontation came in the Citadel itself. We infiltrated the palace, bypassing sensors, evading guards, and using traps against the council. In the throne room, Virilyana faced the council's leaders. They mocked her, called her weak, spoke of humans as insignificant. I stepped forward. Insignificant? Maybe. But I saved her life. And because of that, she will decide your fates. The ensuing battle was chaos. Energy pulses tore through the hall, blinding sparks flying as human strategy and alien power intertwined. By the end, the council was defeated, their leaders either captured or fleeing into exile. Virilyana ascended her throne once more. But she didn't sit alone. My hand found hers, a quiet affirmation that I had earned a place beside the alien queen, not as a subject, but as something more, a partner in survival, in strategy, and in a bond forged in the crucible of life and death. Epilogue. A new era, the galaxy whispered of the human who saved a queen. Many were skeptical, but the story spread anyway. Tales of bravery, of a fragile species rising to the challenge, and of an unlikely alliance that changed the course of an empire. Virilyana no longer moved with just the grace of a ruler. She moved with the certainty of someone who had been saved by an improbable hero and who would never forget it. And me? I learned that sometimes survival isn't about being the strongest or the smartest. Sometimes it's about standing in front of impossibility and saying, I will not let this happen. Because in that choice, we discovered something far greater than victory. We discovered the power of humanity, not just fragile, but relentless, stubborn, and willing to fight for those who cannot fight alone. I saved a queen. She survived because I fought. And together, we changed the fate of a galaxy. The throne room of the Citadel was enormous, bathed in the pale violet light of Aurelia's twin moons filtering through crystalline windows. The Council of Ember, the very architects of Virilyana's near destruction, awaited us. Their eyes burned with contempt, dismissing me as a human, a mortal anomaly, nothing more than a footnote in their galaxy-spanning empire. You are weak, one of them sneered, his voice echoing across the hall. And you dare return? I stepped forward, feeling the weight of my past weeks, the wounds, the fear, the countless leaps into death itself. Weak, I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. Maybe, but I saved her life. And, because of that, you will answer for yours. Virilyana rose beside me, her silhouette luminous and commanding. For the first time, she didn't seem like a queen merely by title. She seemed unstoppable. Together, we were a force the council could not comprehend. Human cunning, alien power, and an unbreakable bond forged through survival. The battle that followed was brutal. Pulses of alien energy clashed with human ingenuity. Traps, feints, and strategic attacks carried us through the chaos. I fought beside her, blocking a deadly strike aimed at her back, taking wounds I didn't have the luxury to tend to. And every time the council's soldiers thought they had us cornered, she bent the citadel itself, crystals rising, doors sealing, the very floor shifting to our advantage. When the last of the council fell, either captured or fleeing in terror, the throne room fell silent. Virilyana's gaze swept across the hall, finally resting on me. You survived, she said quietly, almost to herself. Because you fought, because you chose me. I nodded, exhausted, battered, but alive. I couldn't let you die, I replied simply. Not when there was a chance, any chance. A new era begins. With the Council of Ember removed, Viriliana reclaimed her rightful place as queen. But she didn't rule alone. My presence, once thought impossible, even forbidden, became a symbol of a new era. Humans were no longer irrelevant outsiders. We had proven that courage, ingenuity, and loyalty could alter the course of a galactic empire. I watched as she restored fractured alliances, healed old wounds within her species, and reshaped Virilia into a realm of respect, not fear. And through it all, we remained inseparable. My human perspective, her alien might, we complemented one another in ways that neither species could have foreseen. For me, the victory was personal. I had seen a queen stumble, vulnerable, hunted, and I had chosen to act. In doing so, I had changed the fate of an entire civilization and saved the life of a being who was, for all intents and purposes, a legend. Viriliana approached me on the balcony of her throne chamber, looking out over the citadel. You didn't have to fight, she said, voice gentle. Yet you did. Because of that, I live. Because of that, we have a future. I smiled, feeling the weight of the galaxy's eyes upon us, and yet knowing that no one else could ever understand the depth of our bond. Sometimes, I said, survival isn't about being strong. It's about standing up when it matters most. She turned to me, her hand brushing against mine. And because you stood, I survived. And I will never forget it. Humanity has earned a place in this galaxy through you. We looked out together, human and queen, over a world reborn. The twin moons reflected in her eyes, and I realized that this was more than survival, it was hope. A fragile species and an alien empire, united by choice, courage, and the improbable miracle of trust. The galaxy would remember. Stories would spread of the human who saved a queen, of battles fought, risks taken, and lives intertwined. But more importantly, I would remember. Because I fought, she survived. And together, we had rewritten the fate of stars.